But when Jesus came and he preached, "Thou shalt not make idols and make graven images and so forth."
He didn't do that.
Right, but him saying that I've not come to change the law, right,
To
and all the
abolish,
prophets.
he came to fulfill, which he did fulfill according to Luke chapter 24, verse 44.
Right. So,
He came to
so what?
fulfill those things that were written about him, which he was to fulfill, which included his death by crucifixion and resurrection.
So what you're saying is because Jesus fulfilled them, it's okay now to create statues of him and have depictions of.
No. What I'm saying is, be honest about how you're addressing the situation.
I,
What I find funny about Muslims, and I used to see this years ago, probably 14, 15 years ago when I first got on Facebook. Muslims would put up pictures of women in short skirts sitting down, right? And you can see their panties and stuff like that, and say, this is what Christianity teaches. But it's not what Christianity teaches, right?
right.
So you're kind of doing the same thing now. It's almost like you're not saying that the Bible condemns such behavior. It's almost like the Bible allows it, and we need Muhammad to come along and correct all that stuff. We don't need Muhammad. We don't need Muhammad for anything. We don't need him to tell us that there's one God, right? We don't. Islam is literally an inconsequential religion.
Okay.
When it comes to the Yahwistic Hebrew Prophetic Tradition, Jesus
Right.
is the stone. He is the seal of the prophets, according to the prophecy of Daniel chapter 9, verse 24.
Right. So when in John, right, when they come to Jesus and they tell him about John, and he says, "Go back and ask John." Right, and they go back and ask John, and they ask him, "Are you the Messiah?" And he says, "No." He says, "Are you the prophet?" Right, and he says, "No."
Who are
Right.
they
So
going to?
to John the Baptist.
Okay, why are they going to a Levite, a Jew?
So they're asking him about the prophecy, whether he is the prophet.
Right. But remember, the first problem that you have is that John the Baptist is a Levitical Jew.
Right.
So if the experts in the Torah, right, people who study the Torah, believe that the prophet was to be an Ishmaelite, they wouldn't have gone to a Jew, a Levite, to ask him if he was the prophet. That's the first problem that you have with that passage. That's John chapter 1.
Right. Okay, so what you're saying,
Once again, that's a part of the Dawah script.
it's not, my friend, because I'm reading.
Falling right into my hands. That is a Dawah script argument that's
Right.
made by just about every Muslim that you come into contact with. So I'm gonna have to break that down, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you continue to make the argument so that I can address that.
So are you saying? So what's your grounds to say that God would not send another prophet who would not be from the Israelites?
Okay, number one, I'm gonna address you. I'm gonna meet you where you're at. I'm gonna meet you in the Quran, Surah 2, Ayah 136. You are commanded, 135 and 136. You are commanded by Allah. Actually, it's Muhammad, but by extension, it's Muslims because he's your example to follow. Surah 33, Ayah 21, right? That you believe in that which was revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, the tribes. Remember, Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin, right? Jesus, Moses, Job, and all the prophets of their Lord. Right?
Right.
Surah 4, Ayah 136 says, he who denies the last day, Allah, the last day, his angels, plural, his messengers, plural, his books, plural, have gone far, far astray. Surah 29, Ayah 146 says, say to the people of the book, the Al-Kitab, that we believe in that which was revealed to us and in that which was revealed to you, and our Ilah and your Ilah is one.
Right.
So you're supposed to believe in the scriptures that were revealed to us. Now I know you're going to finesse it. You're going to do it in a Dawah script fashion. But before you go there, I'm just going to address the situation like this. You are supposed to know the answers to the questions that you're asking me right now, right? And if you obey the Quran, you would know that the Bible condemns such behaviors, right?
Like what? What kind of behaviors does it condemn?
Well, any behavior like idolatry, things of that nature. You would also know that that no you would also know that Jesus taught in chapter 23, verse 34, he says, "Behold, I send unto you Nevi'im prophets, Hakamim wise men, Vesopharim, and scribes," right? Some of them you will persecute, and some of you will unalive in your synagogues, right? Jesus says, "I send prophets unto you."
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So then you'd also know in chapter 3, the Apostle Peter of the book of Acts, he quotes Deuteronomy chapter 18:18 and applies it to the Messiah because it's a messianic prophecy. It's not talking about an Arabic prophet.
Right. So my understanding, right, is that. So what? Sorry, 1 second. Are you saying that Peter and Paul were prophets?
They were apostles.
Right. So what's the difference between an apostle and a prophet, sir?
Well, a nabi a nabi is or what they would call an ish haruach. You had anashim haruakim, which are spiritual men, right? Then you have ro'is, which a ro'i is like a shepherd prophet, is a prophet that shepherds a flock, right? So
Right.
these are the Hebrew terms that are used. A prophet stands in the office of a prophet. So John, the apostle John, he himself was not only an apostle, but he was also a prophet.
Okay.
Then you had prophets like Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Hosea. They were not only prophets, but they were Levites. They were also priests, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the apostles were chosen by Christ to proclaim his message to the world.
Right. And was Paul chosen by Christ?
Yeah, he's a chosen vessel of Christ. Acts chapter 9, verse 15.
Right. Okay. And so he never met Jesus in person, but he has claimed to seen Jesus on the road to Damascus.
Muhammad never met him. He didn't claim to meet him on the road to Damascus. He didn't write Acts. But what you have in Deuteronomy, which was prescribed by Yahweh to the prophet Moses, is that every matter must be established on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. This is reiterated by Jesus in Matthew 18. Also, it's reiterated by the Apostle Paul in chapter 13 of 2 Corinthians, verse 1. So when Paul is on the road to Damascus, Jesus meets him on the road, tells him that he's persecuting him and that he is to go into the city of Damascus, and he will meet a man named Ananias who will instruct him on what his mission is. Then Jesus appears to Ananias, once again, the second witness, right? And lets him know that I need you to go to the street called Straight and meet a man named Paul who's waiting for you, right? You are to instruct him on what he is to do. Ananias said, I have heard of this man. He's destructive, he's murderous, he's violent. And Yahweh and Jesus tells him that he is a chosen vessel of mine to take my message unto the Israelites, kings, and the Gentiles.
Right. So what you're saying
Once again, you jump to the Apostle Paul, which is also a part of the Dawah script.
No, I'm asking, what do you mean Dawah script? I'm not reading from a script.
Because it's just typical of what a Muslim's going to bring up.
So anything, so even if I sit there and study the books myself, right, and I bring up genuine question, you're going to say that this is Dawah script.
Well, what I'm saying is it is Dawah script.
So, okay. So like that.
Muslims who have never even studied the writings of Paul all talk about how Paul is a false apostle. I've been at this for a very long time with Muslims, about 25 years.
But brother, look, I'm going to use Jesus' own words, right? In Matthew 5:17, he says, if anyone is to take the least of these from the law, will be known as the least in the kingdom of heaven. Now, he says that he's not come to abolish the law.
But hang on, before you continue on, because I don't want you to make an error in your explanation. When he says that, what did he mean?
Yeah, so essentially, right, the previous prophets, all the laws that are given in Leviticus to the children of Israel, right, he's not come to abolish them, right, that nothing is to disappear from them until heaven and earth, right, basically come to an end, to the day of judgment.
Johnny, you got to mute up, bro.
Is that right? Am I right in saying that?
Okay, so here's where the problem lies. Number one, Jesus says that he came to fulfill, right?
Right.
Then when he says, therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of God. What commands is he talking about?
So all the laws.
No. He's talking about the laws that he's teaching.
Gonna fly on wings of fire. Pray the good Lord lifts me higher. Singing